All right, everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Seriously Western here at Serious Angler. As always, brought to you by Amped Outdoors, our choice of lithium batteries. It's been a minute since we've had the Seriously Western in studio. So we've been out on the road for the BAM tour at the Columbia River, but we are back as always with Mr. Adam Deacon and myself, Bailey Egbert, your hosts. Dude, what's going on, man?
Man, it is fall, baby. Fall, fall, fall. And it sometimes doesn't feel like it when it's still hot, but like leaves are changing, cool mornings, nights are getting shorter. My mind has been drifting to hunting quite a bit, but I
Yeah,
need to get back into fishing shape because we've got two more big tournaments with the BAM tour as we wrap things up this fall. What
yeah,
about you?
dude. Saying it's we've been talking about it a little bit, especially kind of it was kind of kicking off a little bit when we were at the Columbia River. If you guys missed that wrap up with the top three, we had a great episode with them after that event. But the morning temps have been starting to drop here. So like some of my trail cam pictures from my hunting land I got last week were 36 degrees in the
Oh, it
mornings.
it tells you your temp on there. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And I'm seeing that, dude, and I'm seeing every day I'm getting more and more like quantity of pictures coming in. So deer are really more getting on the move and they're dropping their velvet. So like things are starting to get freaky in the deer woods, and which I'm super excited about. I know there's some folks that probably don't hunt on here, so this is why we're talking some hunting. And this episode is obviously very geared towards the fall because I think that's when all the smallmouth nuts get really excited for the fall. And we're going to talk all about that. But yeah, dude, it's been starting to get kind of crazy here in the Northeast. We had a tournament yesterday where we actually got. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, more on Wednesday. But it was a high of 60 and rain all freaking day. That transition, our first transition came through, like the full or the first cold front to start the transition, I should say, came through. And yesterday we tried to have a frog only tournament,
How cool is that?
and he got the worst frog only conditions possible. It was high of 60, like 48 in the morning, blowing wind, pouring rain, like exactly what you don't want for a good frog tournament. We got. So it's all good. We caught him anyways, got Andy out in the kayak. We'll talk all about that on Wednesday's episode. But today we got a fun one, man. We're going to be comparing the Pacific Northwest to the Northeast and seeing what we think is better in regards to smallmouth fishing.
That's right, man. No, I think we came up with this idea earlier this year and have just kind of waited to have a good time frame to do it. And I think this is the perfect time frame. I mean, this is when, in my opinion, you've got the trophy hunters that come out, right? Like this is when the start of those really big smallmouth, the fall feed happens. So you have really big fish, you have the wolf packs, just where you see things that you don't see all year.
Yeah.
And so this is probably it's a frustrating thing when hunting season overlaps with fishing season, but this is like probably one of my best favorite times of years to fish. Like it's just all the aggression, right? All of it takes place right now, or a good portion of it.
Yeah. The fall bass fishing makes me want to be a better hunter so I can tag out faster so that I can
Mhm.
get fishing more.
Dude, I literally think, Bailey, and this is not only just for tournaments, but I think about it for just exactly like you're saying to be in the water. I have leaned so much heavier, and I just enjoy it, but into archery season in the West, which starts in September for elk and mule deer, so that I
Yeah.
can be done to be able to start, getting after it. October, November, that's when championship season is in a lot of, grassroots leagues and things, but also it's when those giants are around. And it's like, I want to spend some time doing that this year.
Yeah, and it's a fun time of year too because I would say it's a big switch up. We'll talk about it, of course, per fishery and Great Lake versus inland and versus Pacific Northwest and how all that differs. But like the fall is that time of year where obviously you can still use forward facing, but there's times where they just get on a rock pile or they get on this, the main lake points of a fishery, and you can just make the same cast all day long and have the chance to just literally rope them every single cast. So where they start schooling up and getting, especially as they get colder and colder and colder, the tighter and tighter the groups get, and it is so much freaking fun. That's where some different things come out to play, and they, especially on certain fisheries, they stop doing the whole nomad thing and they start sitting on a rock pile and being lazy and fat and eating everything that comes across their face. So we'll talk all about that. But man, I think to lay down the landscape of this one for folks that maybe this is your first episode with us. Obviously, Adam being out in Idaho in the Pacific Northwest, having a lot of experience out there. Me being in New York, living 10 minutes from Lake Erie, having a bunch of experience with inland smallmouth, Great Lakes smallmouth. And obviously, you do as well. But obviously, most of your
Yeah.
experience is out there with those kokanee trout eaters and all that stuff. But is it
Yeah.
kokanee trout or kokanee salmon? I totally butchered that.
No, both of them. So kokanee's a salmon,
Yeah.
but they'll eat trout, they'll eat salmon. Exactly, they'll eat
Yeah.
anything that's big and protein heavy.
Looking at it now, I think I've definitely said kokanee trout to people in a conversation. Now I feel
I
like a
mean, they're
goober.
kind of similar, right? Salmonoid family, I think they're both trout-esque. They have the same color kind of tails. I mean,
Yeah. Well, dude,
so
you have one of the most epic smallmouth pictures I think I've ever. We posted it like 5 times at this point. I think on Serious Angler, but with that glide bait, with the trout, with the trout and the smallmouth,
dude,
like the trout almost looks fake. It looks like a Huddleston. It's like so perfectly
so
shaped and colored,
pretty.
but like that was sick.
So those are red band trout, or what those are. They're a natural rainbow trout here, and they get that real pretty red. And I just think they're even prettier in the fall. I really wish I'm going to be fishing the BAM Super 60 on the Delta when there's a championship on that same body of water.
Oh man.
That like, I mean, that was some of the most nothing like that specific lake in Pacific Northwest in Washington actually, and that specific body of water, I mean, it was your textbook fall heavy feed window, but they were just munching those trout. I mean, they were all 6 to 8 inch trout, perfect bite
Yeah.
size. But these fish weren't even, I mean, 2 to 4 pounds. I mean, I think we caught one that was close to 5, but the vast majority of them were like 3 pounders, which were just a fun size to catch. But like, I mean, you would throw over a point with a glide bait and there would be 40 following it, like 40 fish. I mean,
God.
and you'd be like, "Get ready," and you're like, like it was just like, I mean, they were just waiting and sitting on these points and waiting for a small group of trout to swim by, and you like would watch it happen. You'd see trout jumping out of the water, and I mean, it was so cool. And so, it's something I've never experienced before, but it's a textbook what we're talking about. Something that happens that I think is pretty rare to the northwest a little bit. The trout eater kind of situation.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I think is a not to jump ahead, but like bait presentation wise is in my opinion cooler about the Pacific Northwest and the Northeast. Like the Northeast, we can catch them on big baits, but you guys like that's some of the mainstays is like the glides, big spoons, things like that that you guys throw out there that these 2 pound smallmouth are eating a 6 to 8 inch glide bait, which is freaking sick. I mean, we've seen it from tournaments to I know Milliken was out in that region and he has obviously being a big bait specialist, some really impressive stuff. So it's like that part to me, I think puts one notch towards the Pacific Northwest just because some of the fish are just cooler with the big bait stuff than ours are a little bit more of the lighter line type of fish.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm. Which is in the same degree, right? Like, the light line stuff all works and is sometimes necessary out
For
here, but,
sure.
like, you're right, there's a different I mean, it's just different forage base, and so
Yep.
you they get used to eating a bigger bait, which, like it's funny, we all get in subsections. I'm even gonna, like, because it's the fall, compare it to hunting too, right? But, like, I would much rather have a vocal conversation with a bull elk and have that, like, reaction or something like that than spot and stock, go in on them. Like, I'll go do that if I have to try and kill one that way, but I would much rather have it be like that sort of I'm looking for that chase and excitement. And I think the same in fishing. We all kind of start to like think like we love throwing topwater, love throwing a frog, like, but it's the same way with bass fishing. If I can get them to react and watch them react to a big bait, like that is like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like that's just
So
a
are
fun way
you
to fish.
you're saying the calling elk, calling turkeys, that type of stuff, that's the power fishing of hunting? Is that what you're saying?
I Great comparison. Yep. Clip it, nailed it. That's
I like it.
exactly right.
I
Like,
like it.
I think so. Like, I think that we're after that reaction and that, like, excitement stuff, and that's when you're throwing the big sticks, in bass fishing. I mean, that's like I don't know. You can do the finesse stuff, and sometimes you have to, especially as a tournament angler, but, like, if I can get it done doing something like that, like, whew, just sign me up, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I'm with it. I granted, I haven't done the elk stuff yet, and I'm not sure my heart rate is prepared for anything like that because I can't even hits 180 just hearing turkeys call back. But
Uh-huh. Yeah, you
uh,
on Don Pedro this year, freaking out, like, "Dude, did you hear that
uh
gobble?"
Bryant Smith in the truck with him. We're just leaving the airport. And they're strutting outside the airport, and I'm like super troopers glued to the freaking window, like licking the window, basically wanting to go kill some turkeys. But yeah, no, dude,
Mm.
it's in my experience of trying to like call and be aggressive for whitetails, like even that is so much more fun than
Oh,
just hanging a stand all day. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. Just like finesse fishing, I love it.
I'll do
There's
it, yeah.
something about it being more aggressive. That's just yeah. It's primal instinct
I think
almost.
that's right. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
you're dead on. That's good
yeah.
stuff.
Well, let's break into this, dude. Let's talk about. I think we'll pitch it over to you and talk about just like a general overview of the Pacific Northwest of like kind of how obviously I know each fishery has its own attitude, own characteristics, but in general, how they set up in regards for smallmouth. Like, are they naturally nomadic or do they relate to structure, things like that, and how you approach those fish?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is great because and I'm gonna go on to say right now, like, I didn't grow up in the Northwest. I've spent a lot of time fishing it and a lot of time traveling up here, and now I'm up here full time. But in my overall experience, and it's good because I've been able to get out on Champlain and Lake Ontario and in the St.
See
Lawrence
the
River.
difference?
Yeah. So, but as far as the Northwest goes to me, and we're talking inland smallmouth, I think that's a really good distinction that you made in the beginning here compared to those Great Lakes fish. Those fish are just, I mean, such,
Different
if
breed.
people haven't experienced the Great Lakes, like it is such a different, I mean, they're just, or the lakes are legitimately oceans, right? Like, I mean, I think of a big lake here that's 50, 60, 70, maybe 100 miles long. And it's like, it doesn't even compare to the Great Lakes. Those places are just so vast and wide and big. But as far as the Northwest fish goes, I'm going to compare them to the inland smallmouth that you're talking about. But they are still very nomadic. You know, here today, gone tomorrow. Times of the year they can get really heavy on structure and sit on a rock pile and not leave, but they are really chasing the bait, right? Like, I mean, the reference that we talk about with smallmouth, and I think this goes for everywhere in my opinion, but specifically for the Northwest too, is like brownfin tuna, man. Like they're
Yeah.
nomadic. They're out there chasing bait. Um, if they're finding bait in 3 feet of water, they'll be in 3 feet of water. If they're over 100 feet suspended chasing bait out there, that's where they'll be. So to me, they set up um, in a lot of instances all forage based, and on top of that, in the Northwest specifically, I think also current plays a role a lot of the time when there's a river that's coming in or out of a body of water, or if it's wind current or whatever it may be. These are big highland reservoirs or they're natural reservoirs where some current is a factor. And the smallmouth, specifically in certain times of the year, they're going to run up a river. They're going to do things um, that are smallmouthy more than anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my take overall. They set up. They're still nomadic. They're still chasing stuff around.
Yeah. And I think that's the one of the biggest differences comparing the regions because ours will get, especially the inland
Mhm.
fish. When we talk about the Northeast, there's two different, in my opinion, there's two different classes of fish, and we agreed upon it. Like the Great Lakes, you have the Great Lakes in the Northeast, and you have the inland lakes in the
Mhm.
Northeast. And
Mhm.
those fish, in my opinion, act completely different.
Yeah.
Where our inland fish, and I think, are more like Pacific Northwest fish than they are the Great Lakes fish, and meaning that
Mhm.
in the springtime and the fall, they will get locked on for the most part to a piece of cover, whether that is a sharp drop, like the most vertical, drop that you can find in the lake, a main lake point, or like just a random rock pile. They'll get on those, but as soon as spring especially, they get on bed. As soon as they're off bed, they are finding bait somewhere out in the abyss,
Mhm.
and they are chasing that just like a tuna. And
Same.
that's
Same. Exactly what they're
exactly.
doing here. And wood, I would say that's another big thing that maybe doesn't get talked about as much, but like in the spring and in the fall specifically, like if you find we have a lot of timber, right, on these reservoirs.
Oh.
And so they're flooded reservoirs that were originally, like you think about all these places, they were creeks originally. And you have huge 40, 50-foot trees. And this goes from California, Washington, Oregon, Idaho. um, you may pan your forward facing sonar over and be like, oh, there's 60 dots on that tree, or maybe 10 dots on that tree, right? But they set
Yeah.
up on that wood, and exactly they'll sit. They'll be out chasing all summer, but then once a certain time hits in the fall, they start to really lock onto cover.
So like you're on Lake Lanier panning on a brush pile and you see an absolute pile of spots. You're saying it's just that, but smallmouth.
That's right. You
Yeah.
got it.
I think that's a big difference then too, because we have no wood.
We don't
We have
have woods
we don't have wood. We
in the
have big
water.
bowls of grass. That is
Uh-huh.
what the Finger Lakes is, especially. I know there's certain fishes like Lake Champlain, things like that. But even there's really not a lot of wood.
Dude,
Uh,
side note with Eric Luzak, one time we caught smallmouth off a plane that sunk on Champlain.
you had me for a second when you're saying off of a plane. When I
Oh,
thought like
yeah.
it's like, wait, what?
We landed a float plane and then we caught him. No, it was a float plane, I think, that crashed, that sunk. Um,
Wow,
but yeah, there were some smallmouth down there. Anyways,
that's pretty
that's a piece of
wild.
structure. Yeah, that had some smallmouth on it. It was cool.
That has to be one of the top 5 weirdest things someone's caught a bass off of.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, no, dude, I think the Great Lakes smallmouth, they're so different. Like, and even now, I think even with the fisheries themselves, like taking Lake Ontario for example, even there's almost different classes of fish too that act completely different. Where
Okay.
you have your goby eaters, and you have sometimes there will be bait. And you'll see some higher up, they will kind of chase, especially in the summer. But for the most part, you can find fish on bottom all times of the year, and they're
Hmm.
typically eating gobies or crawfish.
Right.
And that is why like the tubes, the Neds, and all things like that, the green pumpkin, the goby pattern baits do so well in the Great Lakes compared to that of the inland lakes where I typically gradual will what's the term I'm looking for? I will go towards a perch or a shad color pattern if
Mm.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the Great Lakes fish are just like I guess the best way to picture it. They're more like the inland fish are the person that gets up in the morning ready to go for a 10-mile run, where the Great Lakes fish are the get up in the morning and eat a thing of giant pancakes, sit on the couch, and watch football all day. Like it's waiting for more food to come to them. That's kind of how I
Wow.
look at it. Great
Yeah.
Lakes fish are just they're so fat for a reason.
Hmm.
Um, now you could
What?
break it into even further and say like that's typically deeper fish because the shallow fish they're up there for to go basically beat the crap out of other smallmouth and eat stuff.
Hmm.
It's it's the Great Lakes is this whole other ecosystem that is so wild if the more you talk about it. But
Yeah. Well, I guess with that, and maybe this is an unfair question. If you've got this fish that's lazy, gets really big compared to this fish that's chasing and running everywhere. I mean, I think about that a lot with like current fish versus like fish that can sit somewhere and they're just going to run leaner because they have to survive and eat. But like,
yeah,
which produces bigger bites? I mean, I always hear about the Great Lakes fish. I always hear about that sort of things. But then like, there'll be an 8 pounder caught in a fishery that's not the Great Lakes. So where does your mind go from a trophy potential between the inland smallmouth versus the Great Lakes smallmouth?
I think, and obviously this is coming from zero experience out in the Pacific Northwest, but I'm thinking like if, with you guys having more current, I think to the Rick Clunn quote of current is the ultimate negator in regards of like if you have current, you can always catch them.
Hmm.
Where I think the biggest trophy you can catch will come out of the Northeast, specifically on a Great Lake, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But that bite has, especially nowadays with the added pressure, uh, could be harder to catch, in my opinion, just for the pure fact of like now they've seen a lot more things. They've gotten a lot smarter, especially those older fish. And but when the fall, like right now, when fall time comes around,
They get a little
there's a light
silly.
that switches where it's not hard at all to catch them.
Mhm.
It's just more of getting the placement. But summertime, it's pretty tough at
Dude,
moments to catch them.
yeah, I'm gonna keep relating things to hunting, but it's the same. Like elk and deer, big bucks, big bulls that haven't been tricked all year. They're smart. They've survived. They've done all this stuff. There's a little window
Hmm.
where things open up and they
Some
get a
horn
little,
dogs.
yeah, like they get a little testosterone in their system. They get a little wild to where they just don't even pay attention. And the same freaking thing happens with big fish in the fall. They're just so excited about the food and everything going on that they get aggressive, they get mean. And it's like, it just is that perfect window to make it all happen. I totally agree with your sentiment on technology. It has totally, in my mind, changed some of these added pressure on Northwest fisheries, no doubt. But these fish have gotten a lot smarter. And if it's a trophy class, 7, 8 pound smallmouth, like that fish is old, man. Very old. It's seen a lot of baits. I don't care how remote of a fishery it is in today's world. They're still getting, I think something, I mean, we could go on a tangent northwest to northeast here on this, like pressure wise. I still think the northeast sees a lot more pressure than the northwest. But the people that are pressuring the northwest on these hidden gem scenic fisheries are good, right? Like they
Yeah.
have the technology. They're guys coming from Texas. They're guys who maybe live up here that are like, the difference in just a couple of guys bank fishing a reservoir or fishing from a boat, and nothing wrong with that without forward facing technology, to some of these guys that are doing a trophy quest for a month, right? On a
Yeah.
body of
Finding the
water.
1%.
Right. Like that is a so much more pressure on those fish because that person is doing, playing with everything, changing techniques up, going down to 4 pound line, throwing the big baits. Like they're just seeing so much more, I think, in a given day. Um, and so it's made it, I agree, tougher. Like we have the technology now to really capitalize, and you've seen tournament weights go up because of this. But it also is making it harder, which I think is also a good thing. It's Mother Nature kind of protecting itself
Right.
in some of that. But like, I think what it boils down, blanket statement, easy. Like we're going to go into tangents and think about things here, but like blanket statement, the Northwest, I think, has a higher potential for a trophy, almost state world record appeal to me. There's more of that opportunity with less fish catching. Like our populations of fish are not nearly as vast. I mean, yes, you go to the Columbia River, there's millions of smallmouth. Yes, you go to some of these places and there's a lot of fish, but it is nothing compared to the Great Lakes or even, your Champlains and other fisheries that you guys have so many fish in those places. But I think on some of our bodies of water, our smaller ones, like there is a lot of 5 to 8 pound fish, which same with on the Great Lakes. But I think there's just this like heavy amount of like so many what I consider, world class smallmouth. I mean, we're talking about the two best places in the world, in my
Yeah.
opinion, for world class smallmouth.
And
But
that's perfect to get into when we're talking about the next part of this is like the growth and the size comparison of each region.
mhm,
And I think you hit it perfectly because I feel the same way. I think while the Northeast right now, I think has, I believe based on our research, was the bigger smallmouth in total, like top.
mhm,
But in and even me living here, there's people obviously that fish it avidly that are always looking for these giant bags, giant fish, but there's not the trophy hunters in the Northeast like there are in the Northwest. Like I feel like the Pacific Northwest has the trophy hunter vibe right now, where I think looking ahead 10 years, I would not be surprised if you told me a world record came out of the Pacific Northwest.
Mhm.
Where Northeast, I think that's just a happenstance if they catch one. Where there was that 10 caught on Lake Erie, which I think was technically Ontario or Ohio, one of the
Okay.
2. Um, but that is like a 1 in a million complete freak of nature, had to be the oldest fish in the lake type of deal.
And
That
was that not a verified record? Or where or was it
not
like a
for New
release?
I wanna say asking ChatGPT as we speak. Where was the
I've
10
got
pound
the state record smallmouth ranked on ChatGPT right now. Um, and I think you and I both agreed before this. I don't believe any of this stuff from 1950s, dude. If I see a
Yeah,
record from 19 like okay, the top 4 states it's saying are Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina. All of them are in the 1950s with 11, 12, and 10-pound smallmouth. And I'm just like,
little sketch.
little sketch, man. I don't know. That's old. That's a long time ago. How real is that? Uh, what did they use? Why were the fish so much bigger back then? Just like,
Mhm. We got
anyways,
weights and fish. No, just kidding. Just kidding, just
literally,
kidding.
man. I mean,
Not putting
what
that notion on these records, but
but what
but
blew me away is California with a 913 in 2007. That
yeah,
is
why is
nuts. Why
I've
is that
never
not
even heard
talked
that
about?
talked about.
Party Lake. Never heard of it. Um, that is a freak, and I
Maybe they
guarantee you
renamed it
it was a
Party Lake.
trout eater.
Maybe they renamed it Party Lake after it was caught so that people wouldn't try to, they saw
Yeah,
the
they're like,
notion of Party Lake, and yeah, that's what
"Uh-huh, uh-huh."
sorry,
They're like,
stupid dad joke.
I don't wanna go there. That's a stupid place."
Yeah.
Okay, side
That's
tangent as
pretty
well
nuts.
here. Do you consider Michigan and Ohio, I mean, still Great Lake region, is that still considered the Northeast from a fishery standpoint?
I don't I know there's so many people that factor in, like, Ohio to the Midwest, the Northeast, and usually when I think of Northeast, Ohio is kinda where I draw the line. Although when you look at I don't know, I feel like there's a line between Ohio, like, in the middle of Ohio, like, Cleveland to me is Northeast, but, like, Toledo, which is Northwest Ohio, is Midwest to me. Michigan's Midwest to me.
I agree.
Um, Now, I mean, I think obviously Michigan still has, um, bordering 2 Great Lakes, and obviously you have St. Clair and things like that, and they have, was it 3 different Great Lakes they have access to? It's still the Great Lakes region, and those fish are still factored into that conversation. But yeah, northeast wise, though, I think, um, now I guess that's a whole other question or a factor to bring into that is the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, is its own big fish factory for smallmouth that's been kind of on the rise, and it has their own hammers in their own right out there. I don't know if they're enough to get in the conversation yet, but there are some massive, massive bags coming
Mhm.
out of the UP.
Dude,
Um,
I think it's a side tangent of a conversation, no doubt about it. Like, that whole
yeah,
northern middle part of the country, there's some freak smallmouth.
yeah.
Minnesota, right? Like, I mean,
I
there's
think you're seeing like a healthy, especially in the fall. There's a few folks, and I'm not gonna call it out yet because I don't. One, we didn't get permission, and two, we're not in the sport of trying to expose and blow up
fisheries.
fisheries. But
Yeah,
the guy that is like every time he posted would be 36, 37 pounds of freaking smallmouth, and I think it's just a super healthy amount of sixes and sevens that they're catching out there, but super cool, um, fishery out there that maybe we need to do around a part 2 and bring somebody on from that
that
part of
would
the
be fun.
region to
Yeah,
talk about it. But that Lake Erie 10.15 pound smallmouth is technically Ontario waters, so freaking Canadians,
freaking Canada, man.
bastards. The
That
age
is crazy.
approximately 16 years old, which is kinda
Jeez.
wild. That part to me, dude, being the nerd about fishing is the coolest part to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like learning that intricacy of it. That's freaking sick. But all right, getting back to what we were talking about here. The growth and size comparison. What do you I think on average our smallmouth, like inland fisheries, an average smallmouth is 2.5 to 3 pounds. I
Okay.
think Great Lakes wise average is 3.5.
Wow. Yeah.
What would you think is your average smallmouth in the Pacific Northwest?
I think it's totally fishery dependent. I think if it is a true what I call kokanee fishery, um, where there's a population of kokanee that's big enough to where there's a specific age class and group of fish chasing those fish. I think your average, I mean, goes way up. I think it's hard anywhere with smallmouth. They're generally such a prolific population compared to like largemouth, for instance. But there are so many like, you know, 12 inchers anywhere, like you go to the bank and you're just throw a Ned rig down a bank anywhere and you're going to catch a billion little fish. Um, and so I don't really count that. I'm talking kind of more mature fish that you're chasing.
Yeah,
I would say on those Dvorak type fisheries, and they're cyclical too, from a kokanee standpoint and things. I think your average, I would say, yeah, close to your Great Lakes number, like 3.5. That's where my mind initially goes. But there's 3 pounders. There's also 9 pounders. So like, I
yeah,
mean, uh, I think they're a lot harder, especially a lot of these fisheries to fish. They're not easy. That's the first thing that blew me away. When I think
yeah.
about smallmouth, I think about catching a pile of fish, but I think what I've learned out here is there's times exactly when it's fall and things line up and it's magical, but there are a lot of times where it is really hard to catch those big fish, um, which makes it rewarding. But anyways, I think on those trout and kokanee eating fisheries, I think you see a pretty massive jump in size class where your average is north of 3.5 pounds. Like it's when you get
That's
bit out
impressive.
there, it's a big one.
Yeah, that's impressive. Uh, let's dive into because we're near wrapping this sucker up in regards to we'll uh we'll actually go through. We asked Chat GPT to give like a best fisheries in each region, and then also asked it on the grand scale the top five smallmouth states in the country. So we had him
Mm.
rank that too, but I haven't even looked at them yet because I kind of want to have us give our opinion. We'll get to there. We'll basically give our top threes, but right now I want to ask you is if you're gonna go. Now this is vague, but going up to the Pacific Northwest, top three. Like if you're gonna rig 3 rods to go up smallmouth fishing in Pacific Northwest, get dropped in somewhere. What are you rigging up?
What time of year?
Let's have it be pertaining to right now.
Okay.
We're getting into that fall time.
For trophy hunting, right? Is that what we're
Let's just
talking?
go. Let's pertain to I guess the majority crowd that they're just gonna go smallmouth. They want to go fishing for smallmouth and just catch something.
Okay. Um,
Very, I guess, very how you'd like, but
okay, okay. I'm a in the fall, I'm such a reaction guy with it with everything. Honestly, it would probably be I'd have to have it one spinning rod at a minimum. So that would probably be a Ned rig or a drop shot, just because it stands the test of time, gets bit by everything everywhere. Smallmouth. Then it would be probably a big glide of some sort
do you have a
because
favorite?
honestly, man, a great one that is never misses for me is an S waiver. Like get a trout colored S waiver or a bone one, a shad colored one, doesn't matter. Like they eat the crap out of an S waiver. It's a nice bite
Yeah.
sized, good, just all around glide.
What was the name of that
For
trout
price.
you mentioned? The one that was on the your boat deck, that picture?
Red band trout.
Dude, don't they have a color in the S waiver that's like literally exactly that?
That's what we smoked them on.
All
Like
right,
I was
maybe.
catching them. I was catching them on that other glide color. Like I
Yeah,
picked it up because I was like, I want to throw a glide. And then once that one spit up that trout, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I have and it was like 10 fish to one, right? Like that
that's
color
wild.
was the ticket. So yes, that is a great one. to always consider. Sometimes you got to buy multiple S waivers to like find one that swims right, unfortunately. Um, but that's what I would have, and then my third thing would either be this time of year an A rig or a ball head swimmer, right? Like some very, you know, simple. And gosh, I wish I could have four rods because I'd say a jerk bait too, because a jerk bait just gets throttled this time of the year.
Yeah, that yeah. I think that's pretty universal in that
Yeah.
regard on the jerkbait standpoint. Now are
What
you
a,
going deep jerk though, or are you going just a regular?
I think they're aggressive enough now to come up out of deep water even to chase a shallow jerk bait. So I don't think it really matters to me that
Yeah,
much. But I'd probably start with a shallow one unless I'm specifically trying to get down to fish quick or something like that. I have no problem throwing a shallow one, and
yeah,
those would be the three things I would reach for in the fall. And I'm curious the same for you.
yeah. Me being the nosy person as in general, the swimmer. Are you going like small ball head on a spinning rod, or are
Mm.
you going bigger ball head, longer swim bait on a casting setup?
Man, everyone does that kind of differently. To me, I would like to try it. I was having a conversation actually with Colby Pearson at this last BAM event with like messing with a BFS reel, but not throwing super light line on it, but like throwing 8, 10, 12. Um, I get annoyed. This is going to sound childish, but I don't like throwing lower than 12 pound on a casting rod. I just
Mm,
find that if you backlash 10 pound or 8 pound,
it's gonna break.
it's going to break. And it also is going to put a little bend in your line or something, and you're going to lean back on one and snap it. And so I only run 12 pound as my lightest line ever on a casting rod. And so maybe this BFS thing will change that for me. But with that, like I've just become a single swimmer, you know, spinning rod guy with a 8 pound leader or something like that, and just winding really slow, man.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Even up to like a 3/8 ounce ball head, I'm typically gonna run it on a spinning rod.
Hmm.
That's like 8 pound braid to 8 pound fluoro. That's I don't know. For me, it's so much easier done on a spinning rod. In my opinion, I know Andy's complete polar opposite. Like he'll run 8 on a casting setup, which
Hmm.
is just I think it's stubborn in my opinion. But we'll call him out. We'll tease him on Wednesday.
Yeah.
He broke my kayak, so we'll just it's a story we'll save
I
for
can't wait
Wednesday's
to hear.
show.
I can't wait to hear the story of Andy
Yeah.
breaking the kayak. Doesn't surprise me. Number one,
No.
um, but
No, that wasn't totally we'll save it for Wednesday. I'm not gonna dive into it.
okay.
But yeah, no, love that. I think we're very similar in regards to like what we like to fish. But I think Northeast this time of year, just in general, not even being Great Lakes specific, I think any fishery, smallmouth wise, single swimmers gonna be my first go to.
Yep.
But it's gonna be like a 4.5 inch swim bait. And it's gonna be probably like a quarter ounce. That way I can fish a shallow and deep if I need to.
Yep. Dude, all the way.
Um,
Same.
and then I'm gonna go to like a half ounce open water sniper jig, like a finesse football jig, um, with a craw
Mm,
trailer on the back.
I love throwing a
That's
jig.
that's big in the fall, Great Lakes and inland smallmouth. And then one that is personal preference more than anything is when we're talking about in the fall time, the colder it gets, the more grouped up they get. I've found that our smallmouth, especially inland, they will like even when the water temps are down in like 42 degrees, they will eat a crankbait like burning the daylights out of it.
That is something I've never done.
It's awesome.
Never done.
It's like throwing like a 12 to 15-foot diver and just like almost like your summer cranking at ledge. Like
But it's not on the bottom. It's just going right through the middle.
it's on the bottom. I mean, I've
Okay.
had it above their heads. Like it's I don't think it really matters that time of year
Wow.
when they're grouped up like that, but that's a fun one to me with like a 7.6 medium, heavy, moderate, fast, 10, 12 pound fluoro, whatever you want, obviously to get the depth you need. OSP is the king
I was
right
gonna
now, like an
say
OSP or a
OSP.
DT.
Mm,
That's typically in the fall. That's the OSP is the best one I've found compared to like a 5XD is decent, and that'll catch them. The DT is probably number two just because that balsa colder water. Typically, for whatever reason, that just works.
mhm.
Um, it's like a DT 16 will typically, but the OSP, for whatever reason, the cold especially, just it's king. Then they like it is noticeable, like even like compared to like a rock crawler, like they just it's like 5 to 1, dude, on how
No
they fish it.
way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, and
so
it's
sick.
not new news. Like we've talked about that on the show before.
Yeah.
That's a killer. But
I've never
um,
tried it out here though. I think why wouldn't they? I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
Smallmouth are to some degree, sometimes smallmouth. So that would be interesting to try.
yeah, and dude, I'll have a shad too. Like go shad, and I'll bring back the crawl colors like that red and everything in the fall too. Especially when you
Mhm.
start getting back to the 50 degrees. That's when I'll start bringing out some flares of orange and red and things like that. I don't know how much do you guys throw red out in the Pacific Northwest?
Spring heavy, um, and then fall as well is when it kind of starts to play again. I mean, a jig is great, like you said. Tube. I mean, smallmouth are crawfish eaters, right? Like far, far and beyond. Always, they're going to have some sort of crawfish in a body of water that they are going to be munching on. One thing that I think is really separate difference here, huge difference actually, is on our bait fish. Obviously, we're talking big, big on the big fish fisheries, big protein snacks, big salmon, big trout. But we don't have very much shad like in smallmouth fisheries. There's very little shad in the Pacific Northwest in general and in California in general. Like there's just not, there's some, the Delta sometimes has shad. Um the Columbia River, I didn't know until this year, has the American shad, which is a saltwater fish that's running up the river and then coming into the river and that sort of a thing. But that's like we have very little true shad fisheries.
Huh.
And so that is something that is very different than, like, for instance, your inland smallmouth that are chasing shad.
Uh, yeah, because those are the inland ones are very alewife heavy.
Okay.
Some have Cisco's, but for the most part, it's all alewives, which is that depending on the fishery and depending on which is crazy how I love learning this cycle of the ecosystem, but like how hard our winters are is the harder the winter, typically the bigger the alewives schools will have in the summers because the bigger they are, the more apt they are to survive the colder winter.
Okay.
At least is how I understand it. Because I'm playing when I won that kayak tournament, they were eating 6, 7 inch alewives. That was the size of they were
That's
big.
sick.
They were spitting them up on the way up, dude, and they were like spitting up enough, dude, where I was like, damn, if this is a boat tournament, I'd be pissed right now seeing how many fish that thing is fat up.
Dude.
But yeah, um, I'm with that. And then I guess to wrap this sucker up, dude, talking about top 5 smallmouth states in the country.
Ooh, I like this.
What do you think?
Ranking them.
Yeah, rank 'em. I haven't I asked it, and I'm sitting there, it responded, and all I'm looking at right now, I haven't even looked at them. It says, "Here's a top 5 US states for smallmouth bass fishing based on size, numbers, and reputation."
Hmm.
So we'll do our top 5s, and then we'll see what
I
ChatGPT has
like
to
it.
say.
The moderator. Yeah.
Yeah. But, what do you think is your top 5? Go 5 being yeah, 5 to 1 being you think is the best state in the country.
Okay. Um, Look, I am a Northwest fisherman through and true. Like I love the Northwest. I think an underrated thing here too is the scenic and less pressuredness of it is super cool to me. And the adventure side in me I really like. But as far as reputation, like when I think of world-class smallmouth bass fishing, I think there's sprinkled in portions of the Northwest, but my immediate gut reaction goes to the Northeast. Like if we're talking the US states, I mean Canada's Canada. Canada's crazy.
Yeah.
Uh my initial gut reaction probably goes if we're going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it probably goes um It's hard to do this backwards. I'm trying to think of what my 4 and 5 are. I
Yeah.
think I got my top 3,
Yeah.
no problem. Um, I probably go I would what do you consider the UP? Would that just be Michigan?
Yeah, Michigan.
Okay. And what about, like, Green Bay? Is that Wisconsin?
I would say, yeah, that's Wisconsin.
Okay. And these are not even Northeast, Northwest stuff, but
No, that's fine. We're
they're
talking
freak
country.
places. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say I would probably go kind of a tie for me between these. So I would go Washington State as 5th. I would go I don't even know if I'd do that.
It's tough, dude, when you start
It's
really thinking about it.
it's so tough. Okay, so what else are you considering the Northeast? New York, obviously.
We'll just go countrywide.
Okay. No, I am, but I'm just trying to think of, like, surrounding New York fisheries. Like,
Oh,
are
I
you
got you.
considering that all New York? Like, Great Lakes region is number 1 in my mind. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's gonna be easier for me. So, I go New York as number 1 in the
Okay.
country. Undisputed. You've got inland, you've got the Great Lakes smallmouth.
Erie,
The
Ontario, Champlain.
the numbers of fish are, I think, what does it for me. I think there's the potential for a bigger an easier get. Here's where I think it breaks down. You've got an easier chance at a trophy class smallmouth in the Northwest, in my opinion. And in the Northeast, you have the chance of catching an absolute trophy class smallmouth, but there are so many 3 to 5 pounders, so many, right? That it's almost hard to get through them
Yeah. It's
versus
very
like
easy to catch 25 pounds.
very easy to catch
Very hard
25
to catch
pounds.
30.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the Northwest, it's not easy to go catch 25 pounds. You might catch 20 or you might catch 36. But like you have of maybe if you do have a 20-pound bag, you might have a 7 pounder in it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's just that outlier. So that's where the difference is. So I still think the numbers are so much of an advantage in the Northeast that it's just not even like it's not even a comparison. So I think I go New York number 1. I then go, let's call it in my mind, I probably veer away from the Northeast. So I go New York number 1. I go Idaho number 2. I
Wow.
then come back to the middle part of the country, and then I think of like UP. So I'm thinking like Michigan, Wisconsin, like some of those big fish fisheries.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I'm missing something else on the East Coast there. What else am I missing on the East Coast?
East Coast?
Like Pennsylvania, no, because that's just
No. I mean, the only thing Pennsylvania really has is the
the
Susquehanna, which is
river
an
fish.
awesome fishery, but
What about like Vermont?
so specific. Vermont only really has Champlain. They got a couple small honey
Okay,
holes, but ours
if we're
very
considering Vermont and
few.
New York, then then I would go. My fifth one probably is like Washington, or I would go sneaky. I would go sneaky down to Nevada, Arizona as the
Oh,
fifth one. I think let's go there.
I like that.
I would go down, which by the way, state record in Nevada was at 811. Um, is a
Damn.
freak of a smallmouth.
Yeah, funny, that's
I
not
would go
talked about.
desert smallmouth. Those Mojave fish are just something special. So yeah, which we haven't even brought up, but
Yeah.
I would go final tally here. Sorry that took forever for everyone listening. It was like
Oh,
Adam
you're good.
making picks. I go
Make up your mind, man.
yeah. I go New York. I go Idaho as second. I go um let's go Michigan. Then it would be either Wisconsin, Minnesota, Wisconsin, let's just say, and then I would go Nevada, Arizona.
I like that.
It's funny because a
I
lot of
like
these
it.
lakes and reservoirs are in between states, right? Like it's a natural border
Yeah.
states to decide. So it's kind of like, like I mean, you could call Mojave like I don't know, it's all the same.
Yeah, like Champlain is Vermont, New York, you can call it the same.
Yeah, that's where I think
Um,
my mind goes.
Yeah, I like that, dude. I think I'm gonna go.
And we're talking smallmouth fishing only here.
Yeah, just smallmouth fishing right now.
Yeah.
Because we're comparing the two regions, but just to, I guess, to end it, to cap it. I was curious about the countrywide. Um, I do actually have. I did actually ask it for the top three or top five lakes in the Northeast and the Pacific Northwest. So we actually will rattle that through that too once we
Okay.
get through these. But I'm gonna go five. I'm gonna go Oregon. I think Columbia River is just enough in itself.
I was thinking Oregon, Washington. I mean, Washington to me is Oregon and Washington are both the Columbia.
Yeah, because it's the river borders it, right?
Yep.
Is Washington, Oregon. Um, four. I'm gonna go Wisconsin.
Yep.
There's some really good inland smallmouth fishing in Wisconsin.
Hmm.
I like that Door County type stuff. Um, three. I'm gonna go Idaho, and I feel like that's gonna change in the next 5 years. I think Idaho's gonna creep up. Could take the two, or if maybe even the one spot, especially if we're talking big fish. But I think right now Idaho has enough reputation to take the top three. Um, second, I'm gonna go Michigan. I just think with the
Wow.
UP, St. Clair, the inland lakes, uh, obviously have multiple Great Lakes there. Michigan is second, and then New York is gonna be my number one.
Hmm. We're pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah,
Like we have
yeah.
pretty,
I liked your
pretty.
Nevada pick though. I think that's pretty badass.
Dude, that place is. I mean, it's really just the Colorado River chain, right? On that
Yeah,
section of stuff of just some awesome smallmouth fishing, but like I mean, even going down there, Mojave this spring, I've never been there in the spring, and it was just like the same as how fun it is in the fall. Like
yeah,
they're cool, man. I mean, they
yeah.
are the US Open there in a couple of weeks will be so sick.
You gonna
Wish
end
I
up
was
fishing that? Did you figure out yet?
I don't think I'm gonna,
Dang.
just because it is literally if you make the final day on the Delta, you'd be driving through the night in the Super 60 to make it for the first day of the tournament, not
Oh
just
shoot!
practice. The first day of the tournament, you'd be pulling a John Cox. Some
You
guys are
break
doing
down,
it.
you're screwed.
I think, yeah, I think Ty Manarola's doing it. I think Austin Bonjour. Like, I think there's gonna be some guys that do it, whether they make Sunday or not. Like, maybe if you don't make Sunday, you'd have no problems. But I mean, I would imagine Bryant Smith's fishing it, right? Like,
Yeah,
why would he not? So, and he's
right.
gonna for sure fish the Delta. So, um, I think you're going to see a crew, a band of brothers running down the highway middle of the night to get down there. And the
Yeah,
thing is, you would have to rig all your like
caravan.
you're going from Delta heavy 70 pound, 65 pound braid to like smallmouth light line fishing. So you'd have to have all your stuff pre rigged to just roll into that event without
Yeah,
practice. So
that's prep.
yeah, and I'm just not like I think more than anything now, I just the whole risk running at night and then not getting any sleep, like maybe that's weak on my end of things, but like I don't know, man. I can't do those things anymore of like run all night, fish all like you've been fishing for 4 days or 3 days straight, run all night, fish another 3 days in a derby. Like that's getting it. And maybe I'm turning a little bit soft, but doesn't sound
I don't
like
know
it
if it's
much to me.
soft. It's more of like I'm gonna choose on the air of caution here and be smart. I think there's a respect level to doing that,
Totally.
but it's not easy. It's sketchy. I've done it several times, and it's not. The aftermath is not as fun as people think it is.
Yeah.
You sleep
True.
for 12 hours, and you need it, rightfully so. But
Right, yeah, you then recover for 3 days, so,
yeah,
like,
yeah, it's a
I got
long
a
road trip.
job, I got other things I gotta be doing when I get back.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah,
All right. So, ChatGPT,
yeah,
top five smallmouth states in the country. Let's reveal it here. Wow. Okay, we weren't far off. Uh, at number five, it has Idaho.
okay,
It says because Dorshak Reservoir holds record class fish.
mhm,
It says while not as widespread as Midwest or Northeast states, the quality is unmatched in certain waters.
yeah,
Kind of wild that it knows that. Number four, it's got Wisconsin. It says Lake Superior is elite for trophy smallmouth. Door County, Green Bay section. Number three, Minnesota. Purely, it looks like off of Mille Lacs.
I was gonna say, just Mille Lacs.
Mille Lacs. And then it says, yeah, number two, Michigan. Number one, New York.
Okay,
And it's Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go now. I love this. We're pretty in line, especially you and I more than ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But
Honorable mentions actually added in the bottom.
I was
It's
gonna.
got Pennsylvania
Mm,
because of Susky and Erie,
that makes sense.
Tennessee of Dale Hollow and Norris Lake,
Hmm.
Washington, Oregon because of Columbia River, and Vermont since it says shares Lake Champlain.
Okay, let's go underrated states.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I totally missed. Sorry. I'm just like finally scrolling down and seeing all this stuff. It says quick takeaways. If you want numbers plus giants, go to New York and Michigan.
Yep.
If you want true trophies and wild places, go to Idaho, Washington, Oregon.
Yep.
If you want a mix of lakes plus rivers and consistency, Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Dude, what a breakdown. We didn't need to do this show. That's all
I
you
know.
needed to say.
Yeah. Legit. Yeah.
ChatGPT nailed it.
It
Like,
says, "Do you want me to build you a dream smallmouth road trip itinerary?"
oh my
Why, yes.
god.
Yes, I would.
Chat's unmatched. Wow. Um,
Crazy.
okay. But this is a real one. I think this will be fun. What is the most underrated state for smallmouth? That's not being talked about right now.
Most underrated? Dude, I think most underrated right now is inland Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Or I'd say, like, based off what I've heard from some folks in our show with, like, Taylor, I'd say Washington.
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna go.
Party Lake.
Yeah, there you go. I'm gonna go not popular, but I think I just love this type of country. Again, for me, like a part of all of this is the scenicness, but also just the vastness and going to wild places, catching bass. I think the two underrated states that come straight to my mind right now are Montana and South Dakota.
Oh,
Middle, like as you start to go across the country, going from the west to the east, middle Midwest ish on the plains of Montana and on the plains of South Dakota. You got some big river systems, actually the same river system that have freak smallmouth in them, and they act like exactly we're talking about. Not quite Great Lake fish, but hundreds of miles of water that they are chasing smelt and um, what other forage bases? What's the one? What were they chasing on Champlain for you this
oh,
year?
forage wise? Oh, alewives.
Yeah, alewives. There's alewives in both those systems too.
Oh, that
And
helps
so
helps the
they're
cause.
megas, right? So those are the two that I think get, like we're talking gravel road boat ramps. So like sucks to bring your fiberglass bass boat down gravel roads, but like big, vast country to fish that are unpressured.
I like it, dude. That's yeah. You don't hear people talking about that one. That's for dang sure. You hear
Agree.
about it for hunting, not much for fishing or fly fishing, I should say. They probably talk about, but
Talk a lot about
um,
fly fishing.
all right. Top 5 Pacific Northwest smallmouth fisheries per Chat GPT.
Let's hear them.
At number 5, it says Brownlee Reservoir, which I'm
Nope.
assuming borders Oregon and Idaho because that's both those states on there.
I caught a 513 out of there, and there's some big ones, but like, nah, a lot of 2 and 3
And
pounders.
so it says known for numbers of smallmouth more than
Yeah,
size.
lot of numbers.
Number 4 says Willamette River in Oregon.
Don't know where that is.
Says underrated but packed with quality smallmouth. Urban sections around Portland still kick out trophy fish.
Huh.
Number 3 has Dwarshak, and
Hmm.
number 2 has Snake River.
I mean, that's the Snake River runs the whole
So it says
state.
Idaho, Washington / Oregon.
Yeah, it runs there's like
um,
Brownlee's on the Snake River.
I like that they say fish grow fat feeding on crayfish, sculpins, and salmon fry. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Number 1 has the Columbia.
Got it. You know what's not being talked about on either of those and needs to be? We didn't even talk about it at all. Then I would put it in a class of it. I would put it for numbers of 4 and 5 pounders right now in the Northwest. And I'm about to probably piss some people off. Like, dude, where Pollinix from? Coeur d'Alene and Ponderay are two unbelievable fisheries right now, and they're on such an upswing cycle. You want to talk about a place where you can go catch 25 pounds? Like, often right now, and or as we get into fall here. Like that is the most northeast I've ever felt fishing was last fall there. Like there were so
Oh,
many that were like 3 to 5 pounds. So many.
that good. That's
That good.
crazy.
It
Wow.
doesn't have as many of the freaks like your
Yeah.
other sneaky fisheries or door shack. It's not even sneaky anymore. But like you've got just a heavy foundation of good, solid fish.
Well, keep that on the docket, folks. Um, lastly, to wrap this sucker up, Deke, the top five northeastern smallmouth fisheries are. I mean, I think you could rattle them off pretty easily.
Yeah, even though I've been there.
The only surprise I see is what's at four and not five. Number five, it has Champlain. Number four, it put the Susky above Champlain, which
Hmm.
is wild to me.
Yeah, I probably disagree with that one.
What's crazier here is they put like Ontario at three and Lake Erie at two. I would have flopped that. I would have put Ontario at number one.
Yeah.
And has St. Lawrence River at the top,
Huh.
which
Numbers, right?
is technically kind of like almost the same fishery to an extent, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
St. Lawrence is definitely struggling a little bit as of late too. And not to get in too much of a rabbit hole, but people coming fishing out of season when they're not supposed to, and they know they're not supposed to, but they still do. And that's what
Oh.
we'll talk about there. But yeah, it's been kind of a little bit on the decline in regards to some size and numbers. But I think this was a good show. I'm curious to the folks. My call to action to you, if you're watching on YouTube, is comment down below what you think is best in your opinion, Pacific Northwest or the Northeast. Add in any opinions you guys may have to that. I know Spotify, you can comment on the show, so make sure you guys comment on there as
Mhm.
well. But anything you think we missed, dude?
No, I mean, I think we got a little rambling off track. That's my bad. Of like, we had this wonderful outline. It's just like, let's just go into all of it.
Yeah, screw
Yeah,
it.
but I don't, man. I think hopefully that gives some people some perspective of maybe, especially for someone who hasn't chased smallmouth outside of the middle part of the country or the
Yeah,
South or something, and you're maybe planning that dream trip of catching some smallmouth. And it's great
yeah,
country to be in, either the Northeast or the Northwest. I don't think you can really go wrong, but there's your differences. Do you want to
yeah,
spend your time chasing a trophy? Do you want to spend your time catching just a pile of fish? I mean, it can happen in both places, but I think those are kind of the main differences.
yeah. Kind of a good guide for people who are coming up try to kill an elk or mule deer or something like that. To bring a rod or two and carve out a day or two, and you got some places you can go and catch them smallmouth. But
Hmm. You
great
got
show,
it.
great Seriously Western. If people have anything else, comparison shows they want us to do, DM us on social, send an email, whichever have you. But man, great show today. Anything else you got for the folks for coming up here and Serious Angler as we wind into full fledged hunting season, fall season, brownfin tuna season?
Brownfin tuna season. No, man. Looking forward to Super 60, having some shows, wrapping up some of that on our Seriously Western platform, and also messing around with Andy in the next couple of days and hearing how he broke a
Oh
kayak.
yeah, yeah, that'll be a fun show for Wednesday. But tune into that one, guys. That's going to be a good one. We have some fun guests coming up, like Tommy Wood. We're going to get Byron Velvick on the show. We got some more guests lined up that we'll be getting on the OG show, obviously on Wednesdays. But some more cool Seriously Westerns we got in the hopper, as well as the real biology. Things are winding up for the fall of 2025 here at Serious Angler, and some cool things in the hopper for 2026. But appreciate y'all as always. We'll see you on the next one.